Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Now in this video we are going to cover how we can actually instantiate an object with our code instead of just dragging and dropping it, meaning we have more flexibility as to how we can basically it gives us more flexibility on when we want to add a specific object in a very particular time. And the way we're actually instantiating an object is by using prefabs, and I covered prefabs not in the last video but in the video before, so make sure you check that out if you haven't already. So if I run that, you'll see that okay, let's compile. There we go. Now as you can see, these balls were instantiated on runtime, and not only that, but look what happens if I click on my down arrow. I'm instantiating more and more of circles or balls every time I click on the down arrow. And the reason it is the down arrow is because that's the key that I selected. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And these circles or these objects again are a prefab which we created in the video. So let's remove now everything, so we start from scratch just like I do every single time, and remove these, delete, and I'll also delete this script here. I increase the font size, by the way, just so you can see it a little bit better. Alright, now let's just compile before I continue. There we go. So go to assets, create a script. I already created mine. I just called it Instantiate demo, but you can call it whatever you want as always. And go ahead and right click on the hierarchy and then create empty. We're just going to create a simple empty object which we're going to append our script, which is basically Instantiate demo, the one that I called, which will instantiate the objects. Let's call this something like a spawner, because this will be spawning balls. So let's just call it balls spawner. There we go, ball spawner. Now click on add component and add your script. I already have mine here, so I'm just gonna add it. Let's open that up. And alright, I have also deleted the void start and the void update method, but you probably see them, and we actually are going to use them. So let me quickly declare this method. So void start and void update also. There we go. Alright, now how are we instantiating an object? Well, actually that is really simple. All we have to do is say instantiate, make sure you spell it right, instantiate, there we go. And in here, in between the parentheses, we have to put a couple of things. One of them is the object that we are actually instantiating to the screen. And in our case, what object are we instantiating to the screen? Well, we are instantiating a circle, this circle, which is a prefab instance. I'm sorry. So we are instantiating a prefab instance. And how is this prefab instance called? Well, it's called circle, because if you go to prefabs, you see that this is indeed called circle. So since we are going to be instantiating circles, or basically objects of type circles, we need to have a field here which takes a circle type, so we know what to instantiate. I mean, there are a couple of ways of doing that, but I like doing it with using serialized field. There we go. And again, we take type circle, and we're just going to call it circle. Oh, let's just call it ball, because we already have named this spawner. Where is it? We already named it boss spawner, so that would make sense if you call it ball. And circle, not only is it a prefab, but we also have a class circle, which basically has these things that we changed the last time. We basically changed the velocity of it, so that's pretty cool. And okay, so we're instantiating this circle. So what we say in here in the parentheses is instantiate an object of type circle, which in our case it's bow. And there are two more things that we want to put in there. I mean, there are many variations of this method. So if you can see, it takes different amount of, different arguments, different parameters. But in our case, we're just going to stick with the position and the rotation. So what we say is transform. So this is the position, transform.position, and transform.position is referring to the transform.position of the bow. Alright, so transform.position and then transform.rotation, and again this will be transform.rotation of the bow. Or actually, my bad, it's not of the bow, but it's of the object, which is bow spawner. So if we move this bow spawner to, let's say, 0.20, this is where transform.position is going to be at. Alright, so let's save the script. Let's go to Unity. We should see a field here that takes type circle. Is it still compiling? I think so. Yep, it is. There we go. So as you can see, again, it takes a bow, it capitalizes it for us because we just have it here as lowercase. Here it's uppercase, and it takes a circle. So we can just, go ahead, instantiate, or that's what instantiating is. If I drag this circle prefab here, I just instantiated a circle, right? That's the same thing what we're doing. However, we're just doing it in code instead of just dragging and dropping it there. So go to your bow spawner or whatever you named it, and go ahead and drag an instance of a prefab, which is of type circle. So we have added that, which is all we need to do in terms of instantiating this circle on start. So if I run this game, you see that the bow should appear here. Let it run. Yeah, there we go. So we have our bow here, and also, as you can see, it has the same properties or the same behavior as this other bow, because this is a prefab. They have the same settings. And because why is everything responding so slowly? Anyway, so we have added that. Now the next thing that I had, it was every time I click on the down arrow, I see I'm instantiating another object or another circle. So probably you should be able to do that on your own. So go ahead, pause the video and at least try to solve it, and when you try it, resume the video to see the answer. Alright, now let's do it. Now since we will be pressing our down arrow on runtime, we want this to be in our update method, because this will happen every single frame. Every single frame we will be able to press the down arrow. And then basically we have to say if, and then input. I think we have already covered that in the previous video. So if input, yeah, we have, definitely we have. So if input get key down, basically the key that we're pressing, or the button on the keyboard that we're pressing, get key down, and then key code, and then dot down arrow, or whatever arrow, whatever key that you want to target it with. In my case, I wanted just to be able to instantiate it by pressing the down arrow key on the keyboard. And all we have to say is we can actually copy paste that. So we can just copy that, paste it here. So we want to instantiate another bow on key down. Alright, that's actually pretty simple, right? So save that, let it compile. And when it compiles, yep, it's still compiling. There we go, I think it's done. Yep, so if I run that, so not only is it going to instantiate this bow here on runtime, but let them fall, but also if I press the down arrow now, you see I just popped another bow, because if we go to the code, you see instantiate on get key down. So we're just creating another bow and another bow and another bow, and as you can see, some cool effects here taking place thanks to the physics engine. Now we could do something else. We could have this bow spawner. Let's change the name to left bow spawner, and let's copy that, paste it, and instead of left bow spawner, we'll just call it middle bow spawner. And now I want to change the location of it. We'll have this as 0 or 0 0, so it's in the middle, right? Save that, go to left bows and make that to be 0.2, well, 0.3, yeah, so it's on the left. As you can see here, it's moving it for us. Well, this will be 0. So this, yeah, so this is there. So now if I run that, keep in mind we have appended the instantiate demo on both this spawner and on the left bow spawner. So what do you think would happen now if I press the down arrow? If you said that when I press down arrow, two balls will be spawning on the same time, both on the left side and on the middle side, then you would have been correct, because see what's happening. See, that's pretty cool. And the reason that's working again is because both this and this game objects have the instantiate demo script, which has this update function, which on input it instantiating another object. And again, just to finish off the video, if I move this circle here, so it's pretty much the same thing. When I'm dragging it here and instantiating it here, it's the same thing. It's just giving us more flexibility, as we can say when we want to instantiate an object and where if we want to. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, that'll be it for this video, guys. And also for example, as a use case on why you would use, I just came up with it pretty quickly, but as a use case for instantiating an object in your code would be, not only is it more flexible, but you know, for example, let's say you've got a character, right? And when you press the mouse button, you want this character to fire a bullet towards an enemy. Well, when basically you would have something like, when a user, or not the user, but the user clicks on the mouse, on the left mouse button, fire a bullet. It doesn't necessarily need to be towards the enemy. You know, if your game requires some sort of aim, then you wouldn't need to necessarily just fire it towards the enemy. But yeah, I thought that might be a cool idea, so if you want to go ahead, jump into it and try to implement it. It'll be a bit tricky and challenging, but maybe we can just do it in the next videos. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and see you on the next video.